Hi, class. So this is energy lesson 3. And step 1 is to watch the video, which is this one. And the next part is to answer the 2 questions. If you'd like to reread the article yourself, you can read it on the PDF version here as well yourself. All right, so I'm going to start off by reading the book. So this book is called Heat Energy. And the big idea of this book is one of the most important types of energy, on Earth is heat energy. A great deal of heat energy comes from the sun's light hitting Earth. Other sources include geothermal energy, friction, and even living things. Heat energy is the driving force behind everything we do. This energy gives us the ability to run, dance, sing, and play. We also use heat energy to warm our homes, cook our food, power our vehicles, and create electricity. All right, so have you ever stood next to a campfire? Have you ever watched soup boil? Then you have seen and felt heat energy at work. There are many kinds of energy, but you use heat energy all the time. In this book, you will learn where heat energy comes from, how it moves, and much more. Sources of heat energy. Rub your hands together very fast. Do they feel hot? The heat is caused by friction. First kind of energy we're talking about. Friction happens when two objects run together. Great example. Friction is one way to make heat. Burning fuel is another way we get heat. Gasoline is a kind of fuel. When gasoline burns, it makes heat energy. The heat energy is used to make cars and trucks run. Oh, look at that. Heat energy is another type. And burning gasoline is an example. Cool. Electricity also makes heat energy. Toasters, irons, and hair dryers use electricity to make heat. Electric furnaces heat homes and schools. Heat comes from nature too. Lightning is a natural source of heat. And did you know that Earth has its own heat deep underground? It is so hot in the middle of the earth that rocks melt. Sometimes the melted rocks come close to the surface and heat water that shoots out of the ground. This shooting water is called a geyser. A lot of our energy comes from the sun. Have you ever stepped from the shade into sunlight and felt warm? Sunlight is radiant energy. So radiant energy is another form, and an example is sunlight. Radiant energy comes in many different forms. When sunlight hits your skin, it changes to heat. Another form of radiant energy cooks the food in your microwave. Look at that. Heat energy always moves from warm places to cool places. When sunlight hits the ground, it turns to heat. Then the heat moves to the cool air. Heated air keeps Earth warm. Did you know dark things take in more of the sun's energy than light-colored things? That's why light-colored clothes keep you cooler on a hot summer day. So, which would feel warmer, a white rock or a black rock? The answer is black. So the black absorbs the heat. Temperature. Everything you can touch, all matter, is made up of particles too small to see. These particles are always moving a tiny bit. Every object also has heat energy. How much heat energy an object has affects how quickly its particles move. So the heat energy of each particle affects how fast it moves. We use temperature to know how much heat energy things have. The hotter something is, the more heat energy it has. The more heat energy it has, the higher its temperature. The higher its temperature, the faster its particles move. The less heat energy something has, the colder its temperature. The colder its temperature, the more slowly its particles move. We use a thermometer to measure temperature. But remember, size also takes accountability for this too. When particles have more heat, they move faster. Temperature is measured in degrees. This is the degree symbol, using either Celsius, So you would write degrees C for degrees Celsius, or Fahrenheit, so degrees F for degrees Fahrenheit scale. Water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and it boils at 100 degrees Celsius. A thermometer can tell you how hot or cold the water is. Thermometer comes from 2 words. Thermo means heat, meter means an object used to measure. So a thermometer is an object used to measure how hot something is. Heat moves through things. You know that the temperature of an object can change. Pizza can be hot from the oven. Later, the pizza gets cold. The pizza changes temperature because heat energy moves through it. Heat energy moves through solids, such as pizza, and liquids and gas, such as water and air. Heat energy always moves from an object that's warmer to a cooler object, but it moves differently through solids than it moves through liquids and gases. Conduction. Heat moves easiest through solids. This is because the particles in solids are closer together than the particles in air or liquids. See here how all of these are really close together? So that's why the heat can move through it really quickly, because it moves really close. Oops. Heat moves through solids by conduction. Excellent. So in a liquid, the particles, these are the particles, these are the things we can't see, it's what make everything up. So these particles are a little further apart. So it takes a little bit longer for liquid to heat up than solid. And a gas, the particles are even further apart. So it takes longer for a gas to heat up than it does liquid or solid. The particles also, the hotter something is, moves way faster. And the colder something is, the particles move really slow. All right. What happens to the particles in this metal rod when they touch fire? First, they get heat energy from the fire. The heat energy makes them move fast. The hotter particles bump into cooler, other particles on the rod. This makes the cooler particles heat up and move faster. The heat energy transfers up the rod until all its particles are hot. In time, the rod will be too hot to hold. A good conductor is something that heat can move through easily. Metal is a good conductor. Pots and pans are made of metal because it helps food cook fast. A good insulator is something that heat cannot move through easily. Wood and plastic are good insulators. Heat energy moves slowly in these solids. Pan handles are made of wood and plastic because they stay cool. Travel mugs keep heat in, but oven mitts keep heat out. This is the cooled soup, and the soup, when the soup heats up, burns heat on the pan. Cool. Starts in the bottom, and then it moves up. Convection. Let's look how heat moves up through a liquid, such as soup. A hot pot heats the soup at the bottom first. The heat makes the soup particles move faster. They spread out. When the particles spread out, the soup gets lighter. The soup at the bottom of the pot becomes lighter than the soup at the top. Interesting, I didn't know that. Now the soup at the top of the pot is cooler. It is also heavier, so it sinks. The heavier, cooler soup pushes the lighter, hotter soup up to the top. That is why soup churns and boils as it gets hot, because the hot and the cold liquids are switching spots. Particles close together and moving slowly. Particles far apart and moving fast. The fast ones move really quick. The cold ones move pretty slow. And the heat tries to get to the top. Energy from the sun turns to heat when it is absorbed by the ground. Then the heat from the ground warms the air above it. Cooler air from above pushes the warmer air up. Now let's learn how heat warms gas such as air. When the ground warms the air above it, The air rises. The heavier, cooler air from above sinks and pushes the warmer air up. Cooler air is always sinking and pushing up warmer air. The moving air is called wind. Heat energy moving through a liquid or gas is called convection. Heat energy and you. Your body has ways to keep cool and stay warm. When you get too hot, you sweat. As sweat evaporates from your skin, it takes heat away from your body. Now your skin has a lower temperature and your body feels cooler. To stay warm, you wear thick clothes. They help keep the heat in. So your body needs to stay about the same temperature, whether it's hot or cold outside. So that's why we do different things to make ourselves be about the same temperature. Like drinking water can help cool us down, whereas wearing more clothes can help us keep our heat in our bodies. All right, we put insulation in our homes to help keep out hot air during the summer. Insulation also helps keep in warm air during the winter. Think about it. Imagine being lost outside in the woods. You have no matches to start a fire and it's cold. How would you stay warm? So, some answers are building a shelter from branches and bush, rubbing sticks together so friction can make them burn, or piling leaves and grass on yourself to stay warm. Cool. You have learned many things about heat. Heat is one kind of energy. Heat is an energy that we use every day. Heat moves through solids, liquids, and gases. Heat moves from hot things to cool things. We use temperature to tell how hot or cold something is. Heat energy comes from many places, such as fuels, the sun, and volcanoes. All right, so now your job is to answer two questions. What is one type of energy, and what is an example of this type of energy? If you need any help, let me know. Good luck.